last 30 minutes of this tutorial, I want to give you a short demonstration of our Cyprotec 5 configurator. I want to just remind you shortly on the example Rainer demonstrated earlier. He explained an example of a double busbar system with 4 feeder bays and 1 coupler bay, so 5 bays in total. For this setup, the disconnector image was needed. And I want to show you how to select the devices for this setup for a centralized busbar protection, for an IEC 61850 compliance solution in a fully distributed setup, and for the 7SS85 CU solution. Okay, here I have already opened the Cyprotec 5 configurator. I go to full screen now. Let's zoom in a little bit, so I hope it is good to read and see for all of you. This is the starting page of the Cyprotec 5 configurator. So here you have the entry options, device, for of course devices. With parts you can order spare parts. It's maybe also interesting for the busbar protection, because with this option in the configurator you can offer a DAF file to change the significant feature later on, if your, for example, system has changed or extended. Okay, in our case, I want to start with device. And I go here with the busbar protection. But of course, all our other Cyprotec 5 devices can be selected here as well. Use a short description of the busbar protection, but I think we heard enough of that today, so just go to next. And this is the point where you choose the significant properties of your device. So the first 6 here are the significant features for the centralized 7SS85 and for the IEC 61850 compliance solution. The 5 solutions here on the bottom of the list are the significant features relevant for the 7SS85 CU solution. That's why here this mentioned with CU double point. Okay, as I said, I want to start with the centralized 7SS85 setup. And yeah, we said we have 5 bays, 2 zones, and we need the disconnector image. So here the third option is the right one for us. Here you can choose if you, for example, want redundant power supply, but in our example I just leave it like that and confirm it with next. Here you can choose the standard variant with which you want to start your configuration. So there are 3 options that are offered here. The first 2 are interesting for the centralized configuration and the IEC 61850 compliance solution. The standard variant V4 is interesting for the distributed busbar protection, because as you see here in this overview, you already see how many binary inputs and outputs are available, and how many current inputs are available. And for the last variant here, the speciality is that there are no current inputs, but an Ethernet BD module for communication, and that's why the standard variant V4 is the interesting one for the distributed setup. Okay. But in our centralized configuration, I go with standard variant V1 as an example. Okay. Confirm the step. And here on the top of the website is always an overview. How does your device looks like at the moment? How many binary inputs and outputs are available, how many current transformers and voltage transformers. So whenever you change something down here, you can always check in this overview on the top if the already enough of inputs and outputs and current transformers. So this is a nice overview. Okay, here you can see our device already have one base module and one additional extension module, IO201. So with the standard variant 1, there are already 3 current input terminals available. And here is also a very important hint on the slide that for busbar protection, only terminals with current 4x protections are allowed. So please make sure that you select the right option here. Okay, but yeah, in this case we have 12 current inputs. This is not sufficient for our example. As we said, we had 5 current measuring points, 5 base in this case. So this means we need up to 20 current inputs, 5 times 4 in this case. So I need more of these IO201 expansion modules. This is possible to add at this step here. Here's an overview of all the possible extension modules that are available. One IO201 is already selected, and I increase now the number up to 3 for our configuration. Now we can double check if this is enough. And now we see for the current transformers, we have 20 now, and this is sufficient for the configuration we want to do now. Okay, so go to the next step here. And this is where you have the possibility to select the plug-in modules for communication. The moment no module is available here, you can, for example, add additional module, like for example an Ethernet BB module for your substation communication. In our case, I just leave it like that and jump to the next step. Here once again, a nice overview. What do we have selected in our basket already? What modules are there? What expansion modules are added? And at this page you can choose, for example, if you want a small display or a big display. We always recommend like a large display for the busbar protection, because then you have the chance to really show parts of the signal line on your HMI display. Here you also have the option to increase the number of LEDs. At the moment the pre-default setting is 16, but it is possible to increase this number up to 64. I will do that real quick. And then you can see now all these expansion modules have LEDs as well now. So this is really flexible here to increase the numbers. Here are also some other things you can change, like do you want a key switch, for example, or not. But this is not so relevant for this tutorial right now. And the sales options, maybe it's worth to mention that you can here change the warranty, and you can change the firmware with which the device is then delivered from the factory. And now last, very important, is the function points calculator. I open this and we will have a quick look. So the first overview is the functions that are already included, where you don't need additional functions points for. So, for example, this is of course the busbar differential protection itself, because this is the main protection function, and this is of course included. You have also the inherent circuit breaker failure protection, which Rainer mentioned earlier. This is also always included in this setup. Okay, and now we jump to the function with costs. And here you have really the option, you really make yourself clear about what functionality do I want to put in the device. do I need, for example, a backup overcome protection, for example, then you can increase the number here. In our case, I'm of course interested in the circuit breaker failure protection, 3-pole in this case. And we take this, in our case, 4 times for all of the 4 feeder bays. So increase the number to up to 60 points. And down there you always see an overview of how many function points are needed in overall. Okay. Then I also add the endfall protection, which is also always recommended for the busbar protection. This number increase for up to 5, because this is also interesting for the coupler bay. Okay, and then also important, we have to increase the number of the function points for an additional bay, because in the significant feature we choose only 4 bays were included, and we have 5 bays in the setup, so I increase the number from 4 to 5 here. Okay, let me check my notes. I think this should be all for our centralized busbar protection. So we need the 150 additional points. At least actually we need 135, but the next higher function point class would then be 150. I apply these function points to the configured device. And then on the top of the site, you can copy the shortcode, the long code, check the list price, and download the selected device overview. So first device finished. Okay, so here we are, start again. And here down you see a list of the devices you already selected. But we start all over again with device. In this step now I want to configure the device for IEC 61850 compliant solution in a fully distributed setup. So I start once again with the 7SS85, and in the second step I will select the corresponding merging units for the setup. So I go with busbar protection again, jump over this description, and in this case we need exactly the same significant feature as before, because the first 6 are interesting for both for the centralized setup and for the IEC 61850 compliant solution. So I go with 2 zones, 4 bays, and the disconnector image. Confirm the step. And as I explained a little bit before, here the standard variant V4 is interesting. This is always interesting for the fully distributed setup, because here all the process signals from the base are connected to merging units, and the merging units are then connected to the 7SS85. So we don't need current inputs in the 7SS85 itself. So I select this one and confirm the step. Once again, this overview of binary inputs and outputs, and as you see, 0 current transformer inputs in this case. Oh. Okay, no, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. I guess let's jump back. And okay, here we are. Close this website, go back to full screen. Okay, sorry, press the hardware manual button. So this is an option to always have a look at the hardware manual. Okay, so here of course you have the option also to add and remove some expansion modules, but in this case this base module is sufficient for our setup. So I scroll down, go to next, and here you see an overview of the plug-in modules for communication. As you see in the standard variant, I choose already one Ethernet BD module is available. And one Ethernet BD module is, of course, sufficient for our 5 base. So, as we explained earlier, with one BD module, you can cover up to 15 measuring points at the moment for the 7SS85CU solution. And with version 9.40, it would be all up to 16. So in this case, with our 5 base, we are totally fine with one BD module. So I confirm this step and go to the next. Here, once again, I changed the display type to a large one. And we will have another look at the function points calculator. Here, for the function free of charge, it is interesting to mention that here the process bus client function is already included in the setup. So you don't need to pay function points for the communication in this case, in the 7SS85. And the IEEE 1588 PTP Grandmaster Clock functionality is also free of charge in the 7SS85. This can be used for synchronizing the sample measures values. And if you activate the Grandmaster Clock in the 7SS85, no additional switches, for example, with a Grandmaster Clock included, or no additional Grandmaster Clock would be then necessary. And it doesn't even cost some function points here. Okay, so, and of course here the busbar differential and the inherent circuit breaker failure protection are also included, same as before. So I go to the function with costs now. And here, maybe I start this time with the bay, because we also need here 5 bays, not 4. And now, as we explained earlier, the end-fault protection is a functionality we must implement in the 7SS85 itself. So here, these 5 points, 5 times 5 points, are necessary for the 7SS85. Things like the circuit breaker failure protection or even additional backup protection functions can be implemented in the merging units, and this is what we recommend. So I just leave it like that with the 25 points for the end-fault protection and the 50 points for the additional bay. So apply this, and we already then configured our second device for the IEC 61850 compliant solution. Okay, so for the distributed solution, we of course need merging units as well. And this is what I want to do right now. The merging units for our IEC 61850 compliant distributed busbar protection. So this time I select merging units here, jump over the description, and here are also some hardware variants offered. Of course, they differ with the number of binary inputs and outputs and voltage transformers in this time. I go with the standard variant AJ1, and this is comparable to the 7SS525. So go to this. Here you see already one current input is included. If you have, for example, a coupler with 2 CTs, or for example you want to put more than one bay in one merging unit, then of course you can add an additional extension module and increase the number of current inputs here. Okay, but in our case, we have one merging unit for each bay. So I jump over this step and go to the communication modules. Here also one Ethernet BD module is already included. This is fine for us, and I go to the next step. Okay, here once again the overview of our merging unit. Here maybe it's worth to mention that of course you can add a display as well to the merging units, a small one or a large one. In this case, maybe I go with a small one. And then it is possible to add some measuring signals or whatever you want, disconnector status, for example, already in the merging units HMI. Okay, so, but here, of course, the function point calculator would be again interesting. Okay. Here it is not so much to show in the free of charge section. We jump directly to the function with costs. And here I want to start right with the first point. As you can read, the IEC 61850-9-2 merging unit functionality is already included one time in the 6MU85. So here we also don't need to pay function points for the communication with the central unit. Maybe also here worth to mention the IEEE 1588 Grandmaster clock can be activated as well in the merging unit, but in this case in the merging unit it costs 200 function points, and we actually recommend to activate this functionality in the central unit and not in the merging unit, but it would be possible. Okay, so here of course you can select function points for the backup functionality, and in my case I want to keep my focus on the circuit breaker failure protection. Here I add 5 points for the circuit breaker failure protection. And for those who really watch carefully, you may have recognized that the circuit breaker failure protection only costs 5 points in the merging unit. So it is not only interesting to keep the processor load on a lower level, it is also interesting from a financial point of view because the function points are less in the merging unit than in the central unit. Okay, so this would be all we need for the merging unit. So we only need here 5 points. So I apply this configuration and we are finished with our merging unit. Okay. So 2 more devices to select. We go now with the 7SS85CU solution, and there we of course need once again a central unit and a merging unit. I will go a little bit faster, but I will try to mention all the worthy parts that are different than before. So I start with device. Start with the central unit. And now these significant features at the bottom here with CU double point are the important ones for the 7SS85CU solution. Here maybe I can explain again that maybe if you recognize that there are no bays mentioned here, that's because these up to 48 bays are available in all these variants, independently of the significant feature you select here in this step. And in our case, we are interested still in the disconnector image, so I go here with the 6 zone, including the disconnector image. Confirm this step. And here only the standard variant V4 is offered, because this is the only interesting one for the 7SS85CU solution. Okay, no additional modules are needed, extension modules are needed. And here, once again, the BD module is already included. If you really want a device with these up to 48 measuring points, the slots in the base module would then not be enough, because then you need 3 Ethernet BD modules and only 2 slots are available. In this case, you need to add an additional expansion module CB202. And then you have 3 more slots available to add Ethernet BD modules. In our case, this one would be sufficient. And of course, if you want substation communication, you can add another Ethernet BB module, for example, as well. But I go with no module, only our Ethernet BD module. I confirm this step and jump directly to the function points calculator. And once again, here, the process bus client protocol for the 7SS85CU, this is the third point here, is already included. And of course, the Grandmaster Clock functionality is also already included in this version. Of course, the basic functionalities are as well included. So in the function with costs, there are, of course, some options you can add. Something like, for example, the bus coupler differential protection if you have 2 CTs in the coupler. But in our case, I will just go with the 0 points. This should be sufficient for our small example. So apply this. And with finish, we have finished our configuration for the central unit of our 7SS85CU solution. So one more device to select, the merging unit for our 7SS85CU solution. So I go with merging unit this time. Jump over the steps and select in this time, once again the variant AJ1. And here almost everything is the same as before. We already have one current input. This is sufficient for our configuration. We don't need further expansion modules, only if we, for example, have more than 1 CT in one bay. I confirm this step. We already have one Ethernet BD module, which is also sufficient for our configuration. So I go to the next step. And here I scroll once again directly to the function points calculator. Okay, and here I want to show you the function with costs for the merging unit device. And here it is the third point I want to show to you, because here the IEC 61850-9-2 merging unit function for the 7SS85CU solution costs 95 function points. And these 95 function points are mandatory if you want to use the merging unit in this setup. So this number needs to be increased to 1. And once again, you can add additional protection functions. In my case, I only want to add the circuit breaker failure protections repo, 5 points. And I want to add the function points for the end for protection. And here maybe to the difference than for the solutions before, only for the 7SS85CU solution, the end for protection is activated in the merging unit, and that's why I have to pay the function points here for the merging unit. Then I have overall required function points from 105, which means I need a device with the function point class 125. So apply this finish my configuration. Okay, and here we have the overview of all the devices selected. And this was all I want to demonstrate you in the CPROTEC 5 configurator.